DC's current next-level era of storytelling recently kicked off with the end of DC KO and the launching of 3 new ongoing titles. We've got a new volume of Deathstroke by Tony Fleeks and Carmine Di Giandomenico, Lobo by Scotty Young and Jorge Corona, and the one I was most excited for, Batwoman, with returning author Greg Rucka and artist DaNi. I was just starting to explore DC Comics when this version of Batwoman originally debuted in their weekly series 52. While I couldn't buy that book at the time, I kept my ears pricked up about the character. When Batwoman took over Detective Comics in August of 2009, I was there, eagerly exploring a new corner of the DC universe. Unfortunately, Rucka's time ended too soon. I stuck with the character into the new 52, but money issues soon forced me to drop her ongoing series. I have essentially been out of loop with the character ever since. But when you tell me that Greg Rucka is returning to a character that he helped create, and I can afford to buy the series, I'm
no swearing
there. Plus, I have just recently finished reading the Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Justice League miniseries, so I've definitely been on a bit of a Rucka high. I busted out my Batwoman back issues, I started reading, I got the new #1, I read it, and God damn,
no swearing,
if I wasn't really disappointed. My name is Ben, and this is Comic Book Breakdown episode, I think technically 35, Batwoman, History Repeats. Let me set some basics. Issues 854 to 857 of Detective Comics, generally called Elegy, work as the introduction to who Batwoman is as a character. Kate Kane is a former aspiring Marine who works as Batwoman alongside her father, Colonel Jacob Kane. The Colonel is remarried, and Kate doesn't much like her stepmother. Kate's personality makes her charming, but her dual life makes it hard for her to stay in a relationship with. We do see her get dumped right at the start of this, but at a social event she starts to flirt with a potential love interest, Detective Maggie Sawyer, who works for Gotham PD, and I'm sure that's going to work out just great. As Batwoman, Kane is investigating the religion of crime, which not only tried to kill her once before, in the aforementioned 52, but who has new leadership coming to Gotham. We meet this new person, a woman named Alice, who kind of speaks vaguely in Alice in Wonderland quotes. Batwoman learns that there is a split in the religion, with one half wanting her dead, and the other half wanting not that. Alice attempts to douse Gotham in a chemical attack, which is thwarted by Batwoman, the Colonel, and her allied religion cultists. But in the fight, Batwoman suspects that Alice is her long-thought dead twin sister, Beth, and that her father has been hiding this fact ever since. It is easily the best of Rucka's 3 arcs, with incredible artwork by J.H. Williams III, high stakes, an interesting character, cast, and shocking finale. And it's only 4 issues, so it's a quick read. It's great. We then get a 2-part Years Ago story, which explores how Kate became Batwoman. Kate and Beth were both military brats, growing up with their parents on various military bases. This forced the pair to be thick as thieves, as making friends was a bit of a challenge for them. A terrorist attack led to their mother and them being kidnapped. Kate was eventually rescued, but her mother and sister died in the attempt, or so she thought. Kate then dedicated her life to serving in the United States military and, maybe hopefully avenging her family on some degree. But someone let command know that Kate was a lesbian, and, unwilling to lie about it, she was washed out. Kate returned home, told her father what had happened, and he accepted it. He was proud of her for defending who she was and refusing to lie about it. But, on the other hand, being a Marine was Kate's plan. What would she do now? Well, she did a lot of drinking, partying, dancing, and casual sex. Kate eventually met and dated Renee Montoya of Gotham PD until her attitude forced a breakup between them. Then, one night, a man attempted to jump her, and she beat the ever-living crap out of him. Watching the scene play out was Batman, who helped Kate stand back up after the attack, and then left. It was clear that she didn't need his help, but his mere presence inspired her. We also see a brief modern-day bit where Batwoman asks a doctor to run a DNA test on some of Alice's blood that she had collected off of her gauntlets. And then, we end things with the 3-issue Cutter story arc. Batwoman and Batman separately investigate a series of missing young women and find 2 different criminals at the center of it. Batman stops one, Batwoman stops the other, and it's clear that a confrontation is building between the 2 heroes. Not necessarily because one doesn't like the other, but let's face it, Batman is a bit territorial, and he doesn't like a stranger running around in a Batman-themed costume, breaking the law and doing his shtick in Gotham City. I also think that this arc is meant to highlight the differences between the 2 characters. There is also a small background plotline involving Kate's cousin, Bet, moving to Gotham to go to school. Initially, she is just treated as a social/familial burden that Kate is going to have to juggle with the rest of her dual life, and she does it pretty badly. But it turns out that Bet is actually former Teen Titan Flamebird, and after helping catch Cutter while out of costume, she wants to work with Kate in costume. In theory, we should have then had Rucka and Williams III launch Batwoman into her own ongoing series. But that didn't happen. Rucka left DC for quite a while, and Batwoman got a new creative team for the New 52 launch. And having just reread these issues, I can tell you, brother, they work. I like that Kate is the type of person who is almost better at being Batwoman than she is at being Kate Kane. It's an interesting dynamic. Her relationships are all interesting and full of drama all the time. Her villains up to this point are all unique to her. None borrowed from the big bat boy. Thank you very much. And the book looks great. There's also an anger to Kate that I personally appreciate and sympathize with. While Batman is all cool professionalism and I've seen it all, Batwoman is anger, pain. There's this hungry need to hurt someone. I would argue that this need is honestly what motivated her attempt to get into the military, but that might be just me reading into it. Overall, I would say that I'm still very satisfied with these comics, and I'm eager to explore the New 52 era of the character. But, in the meantime, we've got a new volume, and I am excited for it. Batwoman 2026, Volume 1, Issue 1, opens startingly in Greece. That's not Gotham. Kate has been admitted to a psychiatric hospital. We see that she has a black eye, bruises, a wrapped forearm, various small injuries. To be honest, she looks like crap. And the bits of conversation that we get about her indicate that she's pretty despondent. She's barely eating, barely talks, doesn't do anything. We sit in on a meeting with her doctor, who asks how Kate feels about her last fight with her sister. We see 2 memories here with Kate, one of them being Little Beth being kidnapped, and another round in the conflict between Alice and Batwoman. Alice was set to activate a bomb, which will detonate a fire pit and kill a bunch of people, and Batwoman naturally wants to stop her. She doesn't want to kill her, though. She wants to save Alice, but she cannot let that bomb thing go. It's kind of a problem. So she manages to get the trigger and knock Alice off of a cliff, seemingly killing her in what I'm sure is utter bullshit. No body, no death. This is comics after all. That's just how it works. But Kate appears to believe that she has killed her sister, again, and so she is in the hospital. She remarks that it's all hopeless. Everything's hopeless. No one can escape the devil. No one can save anyone. They're all...
No swearing.
And so the bright beam of sunshine is returned to her room for the night. We then meet some of the bad guys who discuss Kate's progress. With Alice gone, they need Kate broken and rebuilt for their purposes. Their contact in the hospital seems to think that Kate is on her way there mentally. just as they feel confident that things are going to go their way, a red bat signal blinds them. Across the roof of a nearby building stands Batwoman. And that's our first issue. When I first read this comic and I finished the issue, I felt personally offended. This issue sucked. I actually kind of hated it. I cannot remember the last time that I had been turned off of a comic so strongly before, and that boggles my mind. What happened? How could this happen? Everything about this was set up for me to love it. It's Greg Rucka. It's DaNi. It's a return to Batwoman. I like the character. Like, what happened? Initially, I just thought that this was a bad first issue. So, okay, Ben, I thought break it down. Why was it bad? What was it missing? What does the comic show us that I didn't get? Well, it shows us that Kate Kane is an emotional mess after potentially killing her evil step-villain sister. Step-villain. Well, it shows us that Kate Kane is an emotional mess after potentially killing her evil villain sister. She is checked into rehab, and a group of evil people want to remake her in their image for unclear but evil purposes. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that's pretty much the plot of Batwoman Elegy. Rucka just sped run the synopsis of it. And admittedly, we aren't told these things in the narrative, right? We are shown them. This comic's got a lot of show, don't tell going on, and as comic fans, I feel like we're all collectively demanding that a lot. So while there's a part of me that really wants to complain about how closed off Kate is presented as, or how little we get into her head, or how little outright Rucka tells us, I mean, it all is there on the page. We do get to see it all. You just have to think about it to get there. It isn't being spelled out like we're children. It is almost like the not for new readers version of being a new reader-friendly book. It's like, hey, if you've read Rucka's work on Batwoman before, here are the basics again. Thanks for coming back. We appreciate you. Longtime fans, I think, are rewarded with this first issue, but I can't help but wonder how new readers took to it. I think that's a really risky move for a first issue, especially for a character that hasn't had a starring role in quite some time. And I especially think that it is a bad idea as part of this next level push. These books are meant to be the first in-continuity comics that are inspired by the success of DC's Absolute line. Those books have found success by being accessible, boiling their characters down to pure concept, amping everything up to 11, and then not being beholden to any legacy continuity. This Batwoman comic is none of those things. From that perspective, then yes, I would say that this misses the point of being a brand new first issue. But I don't think that's what caused such a strong reaction in me. Publication concerns are generally something that I have, but not when I'm reading the
No swearing.
book. I wasn't sitting there the whole time going, wow, this sure is failing as an entry-level book in the next level push, huh? No, I think the thing that didn't work for me was just how dour everything was. Alice is believed dead. Kate is in a hospital. She has no hope of anything being better ever again. Then we meet some bad guys, and that's fucking it. This book is a straight-up bummer. And I hate that. I hate when any comic is like that. I come to superhero comics to be inspired, to be shown that even the impossible can be done through teamwork, sacrifice, and intelligence. Even a grim and gritty comic like The Punisher or something like that needs the belief that things can change. They just believe that change comes through violence. Here, why is Kate Batwoman if Batwoman can't do anything? Eventually, I settled on the idea that Kate's behavior in the hospital must be an act. It's got to be a cover, right? She was faking being depressed so that she could get in, which would then put her closer to her targets, and then Batwoman strikes Ki! I couldn't believe that Rucka would write a comic this bad without a plan in place. I would just have to stick with it long enough to see more of the pieces and for that plan to come together. So I got issue 2. Oh, and baby did that work for me. Issue 2 does 2 things. The first is a reintroduction to Colonel Jacob Kane, who is in Greece to keep an eye on Kate. He talks to his wife really quickly, mentioning that Bruce, meaning Batman suggested this hospital for Kate, so ha! That sounds like the perfect setup for an undercover operation. I knew it. There's a plan. Justification. Or madness. But Jake sees the bat signal that Kate threw up on her enemies, and he curses. He hops on a motorcycle and moves across the city to help her. Batwoman, meanwhile, fights a bunch of goons. We see a bit more of the dynamic between our bad guys as their goons close in on Batwoman, but she is quiet throughout the issue. There's no talking, there's no threatening, just punches, kicks, throwing her. The little spikes on the side of her gauntlet can pull off and become little like throwing darts, and she's just winging those things around. Finally, at the end of the issue, Batwoman, the goons, and her father all collide. Jacob takes a knife to the back, like up by his left shoulder, while defending Batwoman. She freezes at the sight of her father, and the goons manage to grab him. They put a knife to his throat. Either she surrenders or this old man dies. Batwoman stands there for a moment, her arms at her sides. "I can't do this again," she whispers. In one smooth motion, she draws a pistol and shoots the two men holding her father. Bah, bah! His face drops. This is almost worse than him being killed. A third goon tries to run away from her, so Batwoman shoots out his kneecap. He begs for her not to do this, but she shoots him in the head anyway. That ends issue 2, and I'm sitting there with my jaw on the floor. Holy sh**.
No swearing.
Batwoman just went Red Hood. She went
No swearing.
Punisher. Thinking about it, there's a scene earlier in the issue where she throws one of the goons off of a roof. And normally I would assume that goon survived, but in this context, he's probably actually dead. And now, comic, you got me. I could not help thinking that this is where issue 1 should have ended. DC should have either made that first comic double-sized or maybe cut some pages from this issue and rushed that ending, because wow! I would have been sold as hell on issue 1 if this was where it ended. Or maybe DC trusted that Rucka knew what he was doing and had faith that the story would play out in a way that we found satisfying. This might not be bad editorial after all, but me jumping to conclusions as a reader. That's why I wanted to figure out what happened to me. Now, to be clear, I don't want or hope for Batwoman to keep killing people. But that scene demonstrates how far gone she is right now. On the one hand, Kate thinks that she just lost her sister again. She can't afford to lose her dad, too. So she does what she was trained to do as a Marine and defends him. But this reinforces the idea that Kate is emotionally against a wall. She doesn't see a hopeful future, so she doesn't aspire to a better solution. She just chooses violence. This means that she may actually be closer to breaking, which is what the bad guys want her to do, than ever before. She might be playing right into her hands despite physically opposing them. And that's an interesting conflict. That's got me excited. So what am I saying here? What was the point of this episode, Ben? Well, I think the main reason that I reacted so negatively to Batwoman issue 1 2026 was that there was nothing positive about the book. There was no stated goal, there was nothing that Batwoman appeared to be working for, no personality, no hope, no fun, no stakes, right? Kate's in a hospital, some bad guys are like, hey, we're totally going to do some stuff with Kate, ha 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 ha, and then Batwoman shows up. That was the end of the issue. That's unimpressive, that's uninteresting, who cares? The rest of the meat of the issue was literally what Elegy had already told us, and I just read Elegy, so I know that's what it told us, and you could argue that that's a good recap of the character, but you don't know any of that stuff unless you've read Elegy. The context is totally missing from the new first issue. Her cast was largely missing. We had no Jacob Kane, we had no Maggie Sawyer, no Bet. Her location had changed, Greece instead of Gotham, and nothing about this first issue felt exciting to me. Stop. A first issue is supposed to invest me in as a reader. It's supposed to excite me. And this first issue left me feeling largely cold and hopeless. This was everything I'd seen before, but somehow less interesting. Issue 2 changes this by largely breaking the mold. The whole issue is almost essentially a single fight scene, but her dad is back and he's in danger, and Kate is willing to go to lengths that she never had before in order to save him. In doing so, she may be playing right into her enemy's hands, but she doesn't know that. At least we don't think that she knows that. That's great emotional weight. We've got personal stakes, and we have potential drama, because there's no way that Batman is going to be cool with Batwoman going around murdering people. So now we've got everything that was missing in issue 1 in issue 2, and I'll show up for that comic book any month. Glad I got the second issue. That's pretty great. Next week, or next some amount of time, I'm unsure, will be something else. Thank you all. My name is Ben, and this has been Comic Book Breakdown.
If you enjoyed this episode of Breakdown, please make sure to hit that like button, and if you are not subscribed to the show, then click on that as well. I love getting feedback, and I would really appreciate it if you did so. If you have any questions, concerns, or would like to suggest a comic or a series to me, Breakdown can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and on a variety of podcast platforms, with links in the description for this episode below, as well as the email cbbreakdown@gmail.com. Thank you for your time and attention.